Good evening, I'm Mark Coddington.
And I'm Chris Baginski. A message for American students today from President Barack Obama.
But some schools across the country chose not to show his speech. Samantha Hayes reports from Washington with the details on what the president had to say. Most local schools did air the president's speech. President Obama will turn up the heat on passing health care reform when he addresses a joint session of Congress Wednesday. Top aides say that the president will push for quick action. Republican Senator Charles Grassley says the president's plan for health care reform isn't the only plan out there. Grassley is part of a bipartisan committee that has been working on health care reform.
The president has also been addressing another health concern in recent days, the threat of the H1N1 virus, better known as the swine flu. The president has stated that swine flu is a cause for concern, not necessarily alarm. Here at Robert Morris, the university is also talking about swine flu and taking precautions by installing hand sanitizers. RMU Live talked with students today on their concerns over the possibility of an outbreak here on campus.
Yeah, I think they are doing what they can. I mean, there's not much you can do to stop it. It's a flu. And if you just keep proper sanitation workers with their gloves on and do as much as you can to keep things sterile, they can do all they can. So, I mean, I don't see what a big deal of it is. You're going to get sick. You're going to get sick. It's just the way your body reacts. It's your immune system. So if you keep yourself clean, you should be fine.
Yes, I do. I mean, through all my classes and whatnot, they make sure we have hand sanitizer, make sure like we go have stage combat. So we have masks to make sure they wipe them down, and they make sure everything is cool and clean. The lunch ladies, like you just said, they make sure they wear gloves for everything they do, no matter what it is. Change their gloves after every little switch of a meal. They're taking the right procedures, right steps.
As far as swine flu is concerned, I feel like it's really not a huge deal. I think we're kind of blowing it out of proportion, and I think we'll be okay. Because I mean, I don't know. Taking as many precautions as we can. You can't really stop living your life for swine flu. And if you get it, oh well, we can cure it, you know?
On next week's RMU Live, we'll have an in-depth look at ways the university is preparing for the swine flu.
An Aliquippa woman is accused of breaking into an Ambridge man's home, beating the man with a hammer, and robbing him. Ambridge police said Belinda Alford broke into the woman of Arthur Fry around 3:30 in the morning on Friday. Police say that Alford smashed the headboard of Fry's king-size bed and pounded on interior walls and the bedroom door with the hammer. She is charged with robbery, aggravated assault, criminal mischief, and 2 counts of making terroristic threats.
It was 15 years ago today that U.S. Air Flight 427 crashed in Hopewell Township. All 132 people on board died when the Boeing 737 went down in a ravine while approaching the Pittsburgh International Airport. Several local people were on board that flight, which originated in Chicago. There was a memorial service at the crash site today, as well as at the Sewickley Cemetery, where the airline has erected a memorial for the victims.
Stay tuned after the break. The Bay Bridge is back open for business.
And a fire truck ends up needing rescued. Plus, stay tuned for your Frampton forecast.
The San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge is back in business. Vehicles started cruising across the landmark bridge earlier today after repairs were completed a day ahead of schedule. Crews doing a planned upgrade over the weekend spotted a significant crack that needed repair. Transportation officials had warned the busy bridge that connected San Francisco with communities to the east could be closed until Wednesday. And it seems a fire truck was nearly swallowed up by a sinkhole in the North Hollywood area of Los Angeles today. Fire crews and repair crews were at the scene because of a water main break. No injuries have been reported. The sinkhole's about 2 miles away from the water main that ruptured over the weekend. That rupture flooded a part of the studio city.
It was a scary scene for passengers on the Southwest Airlines flight Monday. An indicator light warning of smoke on the plane forced the crew to make an emergency landing in Tampa, Florida. 129 passengers and crew members had to go down the emergency slides to exit the plane. The airport's spokesperson says airport fire crews found evidence of smoke on board the plane, but Southwest Airlines says there was no fire or smoke. A suicide bomber killed 2 people and wounded at least 6 on Tuesday morning in the Kabul airport's military section. According to Afghan officials, the blast occurred near a gate at Kabul International Airport. U.S. and Belgian nationals were among the wounded. A Western diplomatic official told CNN. The victims were all civilians. The U.S. Embassy in Kabul condemned what it called this horrific suicide attack. NATO forces fighting in Afghanistan and other government organizations used the military side of the airport. Some of China's aviation ambitions went on display Tuesday as a 3-day air show got underway at Asia World Expo. A state-owned company showcased a prototype of what promises to be the country's largest commercial aircraft. Seating 168 passengers, it also boasts of fuel efficiency. A spokesman for the company says they plan on joining Boeing and Airbus as one of the dominant players in the market. Weather.
You know, I'm glad to be back on campus and everything, but I've noticed that the weather is kind of cooled down a bit.
Yeah, and I think that there's one man who can tell us about that. That is the man over there at the key wall, ready to give us the forecast.
Branson Forecast. You know, he's a great guy. He does great weather, and he's going to tell us a bit more. So, Channing, take it away.
Well, thank you guys. You are too kind. Whoa! It's we're in outer space here. I don't know what's going on, but hey, this isn't where the weather is. But I'll tell you what it is doing outside right now. I mean, all you have to do is look out the window. It's pretty nice out there this afternoon. We did have some rain showers earlier today, but as we moved up throughout the afternoon, it turned out to be pretty nice. If you ask me, I thought it was pretty nice. The sun was out, nice and warm. Temperatures right around where they should be for this time of year, in the mid-70s, mid to upper 70s. We actually reached a high of 74 degrees today. Our low tonight, you can expect around about 58 degrees. Now, you might be wondering, well, is this rain going to stick around, or is it going to move out of here? Well, let me tell you what's going to happen. The upper level low system that's over this area is going to actually continue the rain showers as it spins across the northeast, and it'll slowly move out of here by this weekend, where our temps will top out around 76 degrees for this weekend, and into the beginning of next week, it's actually going to be continuing to be right around where we should be for this time of year. But, you know, keep that umbrella handy because you might need it on your way to class if a rain shower does happen to pop up somewhere around the Moon Township area. But, well, you know, right here, there's not much weather in space, so I'm going to send it back to you guys over at the news desk. Thanks for checking in with the weather.
Thanks, Channing. Great stuff. You know, even though he was in outer space, he did a great job.
Yeah, well, I say that we come back down to Earth and find out exactly what's going on in the world of sports, and Ed Albert has more on that. Yeah,
Ed Albert.
Take it away.
Thanks, guys. Coming up in sports, the Pirates set a new record, but not one that someone would want, while the Steelers prepare to open for the new NFL season. But first, take a look at your athlete of the week. Last night, the Pittsburgh Pirates secured one of the most hated records in all of pro sports. By losing to the Chicago Cubs 4-2, they assured the 17th consecutive season of losing, overtaking the Philadelphia Phillies. Brandon Moss and Andy LaRoche had the only hits for the Pirates, and Derek Lee led the way for the Cubs with 3 RBIs. Ted Lilly picked up the wins, and the Bucks and Cubs will go at it again tonight at 7:05 as your first pitch. Moving on now to the NFL, the Steelers are preparing for opening day on Thursday as the Tennessee Titans visit town for the start of the NFL season. The Steelers trimmed the roster down to 53 players over the weekend, and among those cut were running backs Kerry Davis and Isaac Redman, wide receiver Dallas Baker, and defensive back Anthony Madison. The men of Steel are looking for a little redemption after several Titans players stomped on the terrible towel following the game between the two teams last year, while the Titans, who had the AFC's best record last year, will be looking to start the season off right by knocking off the defending Super Bowl champions and former division rivals. The game is this Thursday night at 8:30 on NBC. And now turning to hockey, the Steelers might have visited the White House earlier this year, but they're not going to be the only team from Pittsburgh that will get that honor this year. On Thursday, the Pittsburgh Penguins will get to visit President Obama as one of many perks that come with hoisting Lord Stanley's Cup. Head coach Dan Bylsma already received a call from the president on June 17th when he was in Las Vegas for the NHL Awards show. The Penguins will also hold a special skating clinic at the Fort DuPont Ice Arena for Pittsburgh and Washington, D.C. youth prior to their visit at the White House. I'm Ed Albert, and that's your Sports Pulse.
Now it's time for The Last Word, an editorial this week from RMU Live producer Chris Walker. The views presented in The Last Word do not necessarily reflect the views of RMU-TV.
It seems only appropriate that today, the day after Labor Day, we talk a little about hard work. As students, we perform hard work every day as we strive to achieve and better our education. The President talked for a while today about that scholarly work ethic in a message broadcast to our nation's grade school students. But the TV speech offered to school districts this morning just had to draw controversy, taking up airtime on cable news and handing political pundits a ladle to stir the proverbial pot. Well, even elected officials and some community activists were petitioning educators to boycott the President's address, accusing him of using the airtime to push an agenda. Well, for those of you sounding this alarm, I just want to remind you that our country's still fighting two wars, trying to reform the healthcare system, battling an economic recession, stemming the tide of a nearly 10% unemployment rate, and you really want to make a big deal over the President telling kids to do their best in school? What we tell the children of our nation is vitally important to our future, and instilling strong ideals should be a very high priority. Encouraging kids to stay in school and do their best, and telling them that while some roads may seem easier to travel than others, it's the hard work that we mentioned earlier that really makes you a winner at the end of the day.
Thanks, Chris. Next week on RMU Live, we'll be re-airing an award-winning story we first showed you last fall on the Carnegie Museum Natural History's dinosaur exhibit. The exhibit, produced by Chris Walker and Michael Pressman, was honored this summer with a Communicator Award of Excellence.
And don't forget, you can also get caught up with all your Colonial Sports news and highlights on Colonial Sports Center every Thursday at 9:30 p.m. with plenty of classic episodes available at colonialsportscenter.com. If that's not enough sports for you, you can also listen to Colonial Sports Radio every Friday from 3:30 p.m. to 5 on RMUradio.com. And of course, also be sure to catch Prime Cuts every Friday and Saturday at midnight, starring this man to my left.
This concludes this edition of RMU Live for Tuesday, September 8, 2009. Once again, I'm Mark Cottington.
And I'm Chris Baginski. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.